Hi guys, it is Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing and I'm here with a weekly wrap up. So I thought I wasn't going to get much books read this week because I had a busy week with my Christmas party and then I was in Amsterdam for a few days. I just came back today and I thought I was only going to get the first book read, which was The Assassin's Apprentice by Hobb, but I actually got 2 books finished the last couple of days, 2 on the plane, so that is perfect. So as I said, the first book I've read this week was Assassin's Apprentice by Hobb. This is a book that has been on my TBR shelf for so long, and I finally decided on a whim to pick it up the other day, and I'm so glad I did because I absolutely loved this. And I can see why everyone has been recommending it to me and why so many other people love it. Hobb's writing is definitely the kind of writing that I really love, especially when it comes to fantasy. This book is kind of... it's all about this one character called Fitz, and what we know about him is that he's the bastard son of the prince who was going to be the king, and his birth kind of basically, and when people found out about him and the fact that this prince had obviously conceived a child out of wedlock, that they all kind of ended up thinking a little bit badly towards the prince, and he ended up deciding not to become king, and everyone kind of blames Fitz for this, even though obviously he didn't really have like much to do with it. It was literally just the fact that he had been born, but he does end up kind of being taken in by the royal family, and you know, he's in their castle and people know who he is, they know whose son he is, so he's kind of ends up doing all these really kind of weird kind of lessons and stuff, and one of these is with this poisoner or assassin, which is where the name of this book comes from, The Assassin's Apprentice. But he does loads of different things, and it's really interesting, and there is kind of this subtle magic in this book as well. We know there is one kind of magic that the royal family have, they just call it the skill, but we also know that from the very start that Fitz also has this kind of other magic to him that not many other people seem to have. It's one he keeps secret, it's one he's told to keep secret, and it's kind of where he can almost connect with animals and with nature and almost talk to them in a way, and it's really cool, and I really like that. It's a real kind of old magic, earthy magic, and yeah, I just really liked it, and I love the Fitz is still it's still this big secret. We don't know too much about it, we just know that he can do it, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully finding out more about this kind of magic in the other books. So yeah, just the way this was written was just like, it's just so rich in detail. It's one of those where, like, you know, I don't have to know all the really exciting things that Fitz was doing. The way Hobb writes, I could probably have just read about what he had for breakfast every day for a year, and I would have been happy to have known that, because the way her writing is, it just really sucks you in, and it's just so rich, and you know, you just get real really nice images of everywhere that she is describing, and the type of castle and the banquet hall, and you know, the rooms that Fitz is taking his lessons in, and the horses and the characters, and all the characters are really, you know, they've really come to life as well. And I love the fact that there's all these different type of characters in Fitz's life that are almost like father figures, except they are obviously not biologically related to him. Some of them are biologically related to him, but they're not his father. But he does have these characters who are very much father figures, and I really like that. And these characters, you definitely end up becoming really you become really close to them, and you really worry about them when things don't seem to be going that well. And this does span a few years as well. So I think at the end of this book, Fitz was maybe 14 or 15. So I guess in the next books he's going to grow older as well. And we first started following him when he was about 6 or 7. So yeah, so it does span a few years. So this is one that, yeah, I'm definitely going to follow on with the rest of the trilogy. Really can't wait. I'm definitely going to read more Hobb. And I'm so glad I picked this up. I gave this a really strong 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was The Ballroom Cafe by Anne O'Loughlin. This is one I've had on my Kindle for a while, and I just randomly decided to pick it up this week when I was looking for something on my Kindle. And this is about these sisters, Ella and Roberta, and they live in this kind of manor house in this Irish town. And all we know about these 2 sisters is that they've spent decades not talking to each other, and they only converse through notes they leave each other around the house. They just never speak to each other. And this book starts with the fact that the sisters are running into trouble financially, and one of the sisters decides that she's going to open up a cafe in the manor house, and you know, there's kind of a ballroom there, and they turn the ballroom into a lovely little cafe where all the women can come after mass and chat and gossip, and you know, it kind of becomes the place for all the gossip in the end. And then at the same time, this woman comes from America, and she is trying to basically find out the the truth about her adoption, which seems to be a little bit shady. She was adopted from an Irish convent by American parents, and it kind of seems like it could be a kind of Magdalene Laundries deal where the mother was, you know, the baby could have been forcefully taken away from the mother. She doesn't know. She's trying to find out who her mother is. And we see some of this is also kind of stirring up things in the past for Ella and Roberta as well. And Ella becomes friends with this other girl, this American woman called Debbie, and it kind of all goes from there, and all these secrets come out, and all these like these town secrets. And yeah, it's kind of just like, it's kind of like a contemporary kind of book. It was a lot simpler than I thought, to be honest. This is a book that, I don't know, I just didn't think the storytelling would be quite so simple. Like, I did like the kind of the portrayal of this Irish town and the Irish characters in it, and some of the language, the way they spoke to each other was quite like, you know, I'd be very much used to it. I've heard people speak like that to each other in this very familiar tone. It did have that kind of thing that I don't like with some dialogue, where they'd be like, I do not think, instead of I don't think. I just feel like that makes dialogue really awkward, because I don't think people actually speak like that. So I didn't really like that. And again, as I said, the storytelling was very, very simple. I felt like things happened very, very fast. It was like the first chapter, there was talk with the ballroom, or the Ballroom Cafe. The next few chapters, the cafe that was already completely set up and running, and people were visiting it. And then Debbie came in, the American woman, and the next thing, her and Ella are best friends, and she's moving in with them. And it just happened like really, really quickly. And I felt like the story is fast paced, and you can read it really quickly. But I kind of felt like I missed my chance to really kind of, I don't know, really feel like the characters were real. Like, I don't know, I just felt some of it was just too quick for it to be really believable. And there is this whole thing about, there is a lot of things being kind of drawn up about these weird adoptions that were done by the nuns. A lot of them were from you know, children being taken away from unmarried mothers. The mothers were told their children were dead, but they weren't. And you know, there's all these like really shady adoptions that did happen. And there were talks about, you know, like baby graves being dug up to see if there was actual bodies in these graves, that the nuns claimed the babies had died, and if there weren't any bodies, they knew the baby was probably illegally adopted, possibly by American couples. And like, I like the fact that it was in there, and it was obviously such a big deal, but I feel like it wasn't a big deal enough. Like, this is something that is real, like, you know, a shadow on Ireland sometimes, and we still, like, there's still stories coming out about these terrible things that happened to these women who had these babies when they were young, or babies out of wedlock. And you know, we're still like suffering from these things. Like, there was the Tuam baby scandal just last year, and we're like, Ireland is still getting like, trying to get the truth out about everything, and you know, trying to get, you know, basically the Catholic Church to own up to what they did. And I don't know, I just feel like the thing in this book, like, I liked what they were doing, but I just feel like it wasn't serious enough. And yeah, everything was just like really, really nice as well. And I was just like, you know, there was not enough anger in it for me as well, for like what had been done to these women by the Irish religious services. Like, it was just disgraceful, and I just feel like there should have been a bit more anger in this one for it, because it is a very real thing that has happened in Ireland, and you know, we're still trying to deal with. So yeah, I gave this 3 out of 5 stars in the end, just because it was just so-so. It wasn't amazing. I read it quickly, it was entertaining, but you know, it's not really a story that's going to stick with me. It's not one I'm going to read again. 3 out of 5 stars. And then the next book I read, because I finished the Ballroom Cafe on the plane earlier, and I don't know why, there was the next book I had up on my Kindle that was just showing to me was a Christmas book, and it was Seaside Christmas by Stacy Claflin. And this is a book I got like a couple of years ago on my Kindle when I was just getting a bunch of like Christmas deal books to read. I think I was doing like a try a chapter tag for a Christmas edition 2 years ago when I was doing Vlogmas, and I'd read like the first chapter of this book, or the first 2 chapters, and I'd never read on. So I just decided, I think I was at like 7% or something, and I was like, ah sure, like I'll just keep reading this. And I kind of already knew, like I could kind of remember what the story was about, and it's basically, I think it's one of these stories that, like, you know, all the characters in the story also have their own separate novels. So it is about this boy, well, boy, he's not a boy, he was a man, he's like a 26-year-old man, called Cruz, who has come back to his hometown, and he wants to open up a tattoo shop. And he has this perfect place in mind, which is like an old church. and he's like, this is where I'm going to put my tattoo shop, I'm going to buy this place, and then but the council obviously do not want him to open up a tattoo shop because they don't think that would be good for the town. They think it would attract shady characters and stuff, and they end up giving the church away to this new pastor who comes into town and his daughter, who are obviously going to set up a new church. So Cruz has a problem with this and immediately butts heads with pastor's daughter called Talia. We can all see where this is going to go, but of course that butting heads eventually turns up to butting butts, because they do fall in love, obviously. Surprisingly lack of sex, as in no sex whatsoever in this book, which I was surprised at because I definitely thought there would be, even with it being about a preacher's daughter. So yeah, this was just like this romancy book. It was set at Christmas time, but it wasn't actually that Christmassy at all. And it was really weird. Like, I didn't really like this book at all. I was kind of just like laughing reading it. I was just like, here, like, come on, no way. So yeah, like, they obviously like each other, and then it's like as soon as they kiss, they're like calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm like, I'm sorry, are we 14 years old again? Like, this isn't how real life works. You don't kiss and suddenly become boyfriend girlfriend. Like, I wish. But yeah, like, it was just so like soppy romance that like was completely unbelievable. Everything happened like really quickly. They were like, you know, they hadn't even gone out on like a proper date, and they were like agreeing to marry each other, and he was going off house hunting, and he was like, oh, like, you should come along because this is the house we're both going to live in together someday. And I'm like, you've known her 5 days. 5 days. Like, you don't want her moving in with you right now. You don't know anything about her, and she doesn't know anything about him. Like, it was just ridiculous. So yeah, I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. Like even for the fact it was so ridiculous, the fact that there was like no sexy time in it whatsoever was so disappointing, because at least like there could have been a bit of excitement there, but there wasn't. It was actually just really, like, it was really dull. For like a romance book, there was like real lack of steaminess. Like, there was no steamy scenes whatsoever in it. It was just so clean. Like, it was so clean and so boring. So yeah, 2 out of 5 stars. Wasn't really a fan, wouldn't recommend. That's everything that I read this week. Please let me know what you guys think. Please let me know what you guys are reading, what you guys have read, if you've read any of the books, any opinions. I would love to know. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.